One of the standard defenses the LDS missionaries and apologists are making today in response to a growing body of public information and evidence against Joseph Smith's activities when he was alive was that, quote, he was just a man like everybody else is just a man, and because he was subject to making mistakes, human proclivities, that he made errors, it doesn't mean he wasn't a true prophet of God. Often defenders in the LDS church today are very, they often will say, look at the prophets in the Bible. How many of them had failures? How many of them did things that were wrong? Remember David, they'll say in their chat rooms and on the blogs and stuff like that. And the point is well taken. If we tried to judge God's truth by outward lives and the personal choices that his children make, we would not be very impressed with who God is. Men and women are human, and they do indeed commit all sorts of sins and mistakes in this fallen condition. It's somewhat ironic, however, that the LDS defenders use this argument when they wholesale and constantly present Mormonism based on appearance and example of men. But nevertheless, the circular reason is amazing. That's not the point. The point is, and this ministry has always made this distinction, it is not, it has never been the personal failures of Joseph Smith that cause us to criticize him. If Joseph Smith organized Mormonism within the parameters of biblical theology, his personal failures might be mentioned. There might be a short documentary on the man as a quixotic type of person that was charismatic and he had some sinful stuff. But if you set Mormonism up in biblical parameters, I don't think there would be any discussion about his life. The whole issue with Joseph Smith and his sins is the fact that he used God to justify them. You see, and here is the big difference between the biblical prophets and a man like Joseph Smith. He made his sins doctrine. He would say, thus saith the Lord, to this stuff. When David messed up with Bathsheba and then Uriah, he did not lay the blame at the foot of God in order to justify it. He admitted his failures, he mourned over them, he wrote through all the Psalms about them, and he repented. In almost everything Joseph Smith did in his personal life, from taking other people's property and land, to taking their wives, to all the revelation he professed that backed his actions in the Doctrine and Covenants, he would preface it with, thus saith the Lord. Christians are well aware of the failures of our spiritual forefathers. Martin Luther, he did some said some very ridiculous things. All men and women sin and do, but they don't lay it at God's feet. We don't trust in men, we trust in God. We trust in God, we don't trust in religion. We trust in and put our faith in Christ, not in institutional practices and in rites. This is yet another Mormon differentiation from biblical Christianity.